Welcome back to Pips-N-Chits. My name is Jason, and today is April 18th, 2020, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a channel update. It's been a few weeks since I've really had any content posted to the channel, and as you're aware, we're in the midst of the global pandemic known as the coronavirus, and where a lot of people are finding themselves sequestered at home and having a lot more time to play games either solo or with their family and whatnot. Unfortunately for myself, or I guess fortunately for me, really, is my job. I work in a service industry, and my job is actually picked up. I'm actually have been more busy the last few weeks, where I haven't really had a lot of time to devote to the channel. That being said, I just wanted to run through a couple things here with you that's been going on for like the last month. Um, I've gotten a lot more painting in the last few weeks. The weather here, where I live, it's been raining a lot. I can't really go outside anyway, again, because of the coronavirus. But so it's given me a chance to kind of like hunker down and do a lot more painting. So I've been painting, as you can see here. I'm going to post some pictures. I'm doing some batch painting for Space Cadets, the away missions. Here you can see the saucermen that I've painted with both contrast paints and acrylic paints. There's a lot of miniatures in this game, but I'm kind of doing batch painting here. Gets a little tedious, but at the same time, relatively fun. It's also got me to start painting more Mansions of Madness figures. And here you could see, I don't know what the name of these guys are. I probably need to look them up, but here are the Hatchet Men, if you will. And the Hatchet Men, obviously a work in progress right now. Again, both a combination of contrast paints and acrylic paints. And here are the Migos that I've been painting as well. Not a lot of source material out there or a lot of pictures or artwork for these guys, so I kind of wanted to add some more color to, I don't want all my miniatures all to look the same. I think a lot of people tend to, when they get monsters, paint them consistently green over and over and over again, and I'm guilty of that too. So I wanted to break it up and, get a little bit more color into the game. But that being said, I love Mansions of Madness, one of my favorite games. And since I've been one of my all-time top 10 favorite games, I might even say one of my top 5 favorite games. I actually been listening to a podcast, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons style podcast, and the name escapes me right now, but I'll put it here in the subtitles here in a minute. It's a podcast based on the Call of Cthulhu series of role-playing games, and it's very fun to listen to the special effects. That being said, it's gotten me really back into the whole Mansions of Madness game. I went ahead and bought the Broken Token, the Monster Crate. Relatively expensive, but this will help me get all my expansions into one big box. I'm in the process of building that now. I will say, for those of you thinking about purchasing this box, it is a little on the pricey side. I think the best price out there is about $180 for this. And there is assembly required. I'll tell you right now, I cannot recommend enough getting yourself a good set of files, like jeweler files or small wood files. Unfortunately, as good as this thing is engineered and as nice as the instructions are, the one consistent issue I find sometimes with Broken Token is that the laser cutting is maybe 1 millimeter off. And that's good in the sense that it always makes for really tight fits. It's bad in the sense that you don't want to splinter the wood. You don't want to hammer anything or force anything, so you have to spend a lot of time filing down the little dove joints there to put these things together, and it takes a lot of time. So go ahead and plan on spending quite a few hours putting this box together. I actually been working on it maybe a half hour to an hour almost every day for the past week, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'll be glad when it's done. Games. So what games have I been playing the last few weeks? Well, my wife and I are really big into roll and write games. So I've been playing Fleet, the dice game from Blue Cocker Games, that with my wife. And it's a little seesaw back and forth. She wins one, I win one. She's really good at putting dice together, though. It always astounds me, or sometimes it kind of leaves me kind of disheartened a little bit. Like, oh man, she does really well in that game, and it's probably kind of my little bit of a competitive nature, good competitive nature with my wife, but she tends to get the upper hand on me with Fleet, the dice game. Another game that we like, actually, I said that was Blue Cocker. That was actually Eagle Griffin Games, so I apologize for that. From Blue Cocker Games, however, is Welcome to Your Perfect Neighborhood. Another game that we really enjoy. You could play it solo or with multiple people. My wife really likes that one. And again, for me and her playing that, it's kind of a seesaw. She'll win one, I'll win one, or it comes very close in points generally. Um, we're looking forward to, as I record this right now, any day now or week, they should be releasing Welcome to Las Vegas. It's basically the game kicked up a couple of notches, introducing some new mechanics like you're going to be visiting casinos and you're going to have limousine routes. And it's themed in Las Vegas. But that's a game that we're really looking forward to for you guys that like Welcome to the Neighborhood. I would definitely check that one out. We also got out to the table from Cackleberry Games. We got out Gardens of Babylon. This is a Kickstarter game that I had received about a year ago. Unfortunately, it's been sitting on my shelf, but my wife wanted to try something new, so I said, well, okay, let's try this. Surprisingly, it was relatively easy to learn. It's relatively easy to teach. A very colorful game. 1 to 4 players. It does have a solo expansion. If you got the Kickstarter, there's the Assyrian. I don't know if that is part of the retail game or not. I'm unclear of. But it's a game that we were able to sit down and knock out. Our first game. Again, it was relatively close. I won, but not by much, within less than 10 points, if you will. Um, but I think the game will probably really shine with 3 people. With 2 people, it's a little bit of too much take that towards each other. I understand it's competitive, but I think with bringing in at least a third person would kind of mix up that dynamic a lot. The same goes with Villainous. We were able to play Villainous a couple of times. I got the new expansion, Perfectly Wretched, where my wife wanted to play Cruella de Vil, and I went ahead and played the old black and white Pete from, I think the cartoon originally was from the 1930s. I was able to win at that one. It took her a while my wife to kind of grasp Cruella de Vil. I honestly don't think it was that hard, but we played again with another couple. We cheated the other day. We met another couple despite being on lockdown, so whatever. But we played, my friend played Scar, his wife played Cruella de Vil, my wife ended up playing Rapunzel, and I got back to playing Pete. Again, I won with Pete, but I won because I think no one was paying attention to me. I really like I don't know how to say. They were kind of upset that I had won the game. Upset, not angry, upset, but like, oh, how did you win? It's like, well, because I was paying attention. This is the kind of game I really like. This game a lot. I think Villainous. I really do think it's really is well balanced. And if people take the time to read the lore on their cards or understand their cards, I think the cards are really well balanced and you can win just with any character. Fortunately for me, I'm that kind of player that I can see 2 or 3 or 4 turns ahead of time and I can kind of plan those things out. That's worked for me in games such as like Terraforming Mars, where I can see down the line, where sometimes the people that I play with are maybe a little right in the here and the now. and they don't plan. Actually, I take that back. My wife's friend, or excuse me, my friend's wife is actually really good at planning ahead. We played Villainous before, and she's played with one of the other characters, and she does generally phenomenally well. And she's when we play Clank Acquisitions Incorporated, I'm always impressed with how she can see things 2 or 3 turns down the road, and she can set up the planning. But for some reason, Villainous, she's had this new wretchedly perfect or perfectly wretched. She had a little bit of a harder time with. Um, Other things, I've been playing some digital games. I've been playing Terraforming Mars from Asmodee. Asmodee, during this virus, they've reduced a lot of their games to, a fraction of the price. And so I've been playing that solo. I always find though, each time I play, I get slightly better. I've been beating each time that I've played, I've gotten better than the time before. That being said, I've still lost every single game. This last time, I feel like if I got to the 15th turn or the 15th generation, I definitely would have won at least the last 2 games. But I come up just shy. The game ends in the solo game, or the solo rules. It ends at generation 14. And generally my engine, whatever, the luck of the draw or the luck of my cards or me planning, I can't seem to get my engine going early enough. By the time my engine kicks in, it's generally turn 9 or 10, and it's really a struggle for me to kick things into high gear with knowing that the timer, I've got 4 or 5 turns left. um, Kickstarter games right now, because of the pandemic, a lot of things aren't delivering. Any day now, I should be getting Simon's Munchkin game, the board game. I pretty much went all in. Tons of miniatures coming with that, really cartoony miniatures. I'm looking forward to painting that. But as far as I know, the shipping has been delayed. The same with a D6, a kind of another dungeon crawling game with some dice and upgrades, and but kind of a little bit of a comedic slant on it, if you will. In this kind of maybe the same vein as Munchkin. Looking forward to that, but again, shipping has been delayed. Speaking of Kickstarter games, I've really kind of pulled back. I've got a lot of Kickstarter games that are still coming down the pike for me. So, and I have a lot of games at home that I haven't really played yet that I'd like to get to the table. My wife has really kind of got on me like, hey, you need to play the ones that you have. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I had to get Simon's Ankh. I don't own the first 2. What is it? Blood Rage is the first one. I forget what the second one is, but it's based around an Oriental theme. I think maybe it's 5 Rings. I'm not sure. I forget what it's called. But anyway, I had to get Ankh, one, because I love Egypt. I just love everything Egypt. I've always been fascinated with Egyptology, kind of on my bucket list to go to Egypt, to go to the pyramids and see that. I remember as a young kid playing video games, one called Pharaoh, especially an old PC game where you got to build the pyramids and stuff like that. I have a room in my house where I have Egyptian decorations and whatnot. So the miniatures on this are just phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to painting those. The bad news is it won't be released until 2021. So I'm buying it now to paint a year from now. Another game that's on Kickstarter right now that I'm probably going to get anyway, hopefully it's on the cheap end, it's either called Last Girl or Final Girl. Can't really remember, but it's by Van Ryder Games, and it's a solo game. And if you've ever played Hostage Negotiator, a lot of the same mechanics of Hostage Negotiator, but this time you're playing in a horror theme. You are that last, that trope. You're that last girl, and you've got to rescue family members or defeat the bad guy. And that bad guy is either a poltergeist or a serial killer, but it's kind of like those old R-rated horror movies from the 80s and 90s. And you're that last person making, getting up to that climax there. That's a game for, if you like Hostage Negotiator and you like solo games, that's definitely one to check out. It's on Kickstarter right now. Like I said, I own the Hostage Negotiator. I'm okay at it. I probably lose more so than I win at that game. It's still a fun game. But the dice definitely, I always have a hard time. A lot of the game depends on dice chucking, and if you're not into brutal dice rolls, Hostage Negotiator might not be for you. And then last but not least, I went all in on Frosthaven. I missed Gloomhaven the first time around. I had to wait for the second edition, so I'm glad that I did wait for the second edition because Isaac Childress, that is the designer. They went back and improved some of the components, specifically the health and experience tracker for that. I own a Broken Token organizer for that. I've painted the minis for that. I've started a couple of the scenarios. I own the digital game from Steam on that. But I've got a long way to go. So hopefully this will get me into gear of purchasing or going ahead and playing Gloomhaven, at least a lot more into it before Frosthaven. But that's a year away as well. That being said, lastly, I'll finish off with Legacy of Dragonholt from Fantasy Flight Games. Kind of a choose your own adventure on steroids. I've been playing that. I played the tutorial and chapter 1 of that. A little premature for me to kind of give a review. I would like to give a review on it. I can tell you on a positive note, the writing is absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the really well written story, and you really, as you're reading this choose your own adventure, you really get sucked into your surroundings and what's going on around you. The bad side of it is I find that the tutorial might have been a little vague when you get into Dragonhold and you're kind of discovering what the first part of your chapter is, or discovering the chapters. I kind of felt like I'm stumbling around a little bit, not sure if I was on the right track or not. There wasn't a lot of direction in the story. Like, should I be going down this path? Am I getting closer to opening up a new chapter? I don't know. So I feel that sometimes, there's a little bit of a blankness there, like you're not sure what the heck is happening until, an event, you stumble across an event. Also, skill checks in the game. You don't use dice in this game at all, but you do have skills that you should have during your adventures. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to tell you how to create your character, but I find that after doing the tutorial and at least the first chapter, some skills, some prerequisite skills seem to be much more heavily favored than other skills. Without giving spoilers away, I'll just say this: archery. I'll just leave it at that: archery. Anyway, that being said, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. Tomorrow, Sunday, I might, or even later tonight, I'm going to continue playing Legacy of Dragonholt, see if I can get through Chapter 2 of that game. And like I said, maybe by the time I'm done with Chapter 3, or maybe even starting Chapter 4, I could sit down and do an actual proper review of the game. But I'm glad that I also got it on sale. I would have been maybe a little bummed if I would have paid full price. MSRP, I want to say, is about 50. I want to say it's 59. Was it 49 or 59? I can't remember. But I got it on sale from Amazon, and I think I paid a half price one day. So I was ecstatic, and I was very happy with that purchase at $30 as opposed to paying if I had to pay $50 for it. But with that, I'll bring this channel update to a close. Go ahead and leave me a comment. I know I kind of hit the 20-minute mark here, but you know, tell me, you know, what you've been playing during this pandemic. If you have any suggestions for me, comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Hit subscribe if you like it. I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, again, I know I said this before. I think I said it the last 2 times. I want to start recording more. I just don't have the time to do as much as I would like to. Anyway, I'm Jason. This is Pips-N-Chits. Thank you for watching and hearing me out. And stay safe out there. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.